New information on that State Department alert, as well as the three in the security camera image. Pamela?
Well, Anderson, the State Department just sent out this alert to U.S. citizens, warning them of the potential risks of travel to and throughout Europe in the wake of the attacks in Brussels this morning. This alert says that terrorist groups continue to plan near-term attacks throughout Europe, targeting sporting events, tourist sites, restaurants, and transportation, which, of course, are soft targets. This travel alert, it says, expires on June 20th, 2016, and it also says travelers in Europe, U.S. citizens, should avoid crowded places. Well, it's going to be tough to do that if you're going through an airport or a metro, as we saw there today. And it's no surprise they sent out this alert warning of potential other attacks, because we know that at least one of the attackers, Anderson, escaped today, officials believe, and that the working theory is that these three men we've been seeing in that picture were part of a larger network. Investigators have been able to use that surveillance video, this is a screen grab from that, to track the movements of the three men, and three of them are seen exiting a taxi and then moving through the airport. The third man we see right here, dressed in white, left the airport after accompanying the two. That appeared to be planned. Question is, Anderson, where did he go after that? Was it to the metro stop where the other explosions went off an hour later, or somewhere else? So a lot of unanswered questions at this hour.
What information is there that possibly connects that man with the hat or the other attackers to the Paris attackers?
Well, at this point, it's a working theory that they are connected to Salah Abdeslam, who we know was arrested last Friday. He was considered one of the ringleaders in the Paris attacks. They do believe that there is a connection there. One big reason is because the house where these men were, where the raid happened earlier today, is in that same neighborhood where Abdeslam was and where the Paris attacks were hatched, essentially. And just the timing of this as well, Anderson, this is just a few days after Abdeslam was arrested. The belief is that they accelerated their plan, that this was already in the works for weeks, possibly months, and then after his arrest, they decided to go ahead and launch the attacks. Anderson?
All right, Pam Brown, thanks very much. More now on how the two key pieces of this story connect, namely the manhunt and the discoveries in an apartment in a section of Brussels, as well as a tip. CNN's Frederick Plyden is there joining us now. What are you seeing? What are you learning? Last we talked several hours ago, there was an operation underway.
Yeah, that operation has been toned down considerably at this point in time. It seems as though to us right now, Anderson, that they are now doing forensic work. We've actually now been able to get much closer to that apartment that was raided earlier today by the police. I'm going to step out of your shot for a second, and you'll be able to see that the police are right in front of this building right here. There's forensic work going on. If we tilt up, you can actually see the apartment that the forensic workers are in right now. Now, they've been bringing a lot of brown bags that seem to be full of some sort of evidence out of that apartment since we've been standing here. They, of course, have told us that they found in that apartment a nail bomb. They also found some chemicals. They also found an ISIS flag, apparently, in there as well. Earlier today, there was a helicopter who was hovering right over this area with what appeared to us to be some sort of sniper taking aim at that building. And then, of course, later we heard that apparently the taxi driver that took these three men to the airport later said they picked them up right here from this building. And apparently also there was one suitcase that didn't fit into the taxi that they left behind. And of course later the police came here and said they found a nail bomb. Perhaps it was inside that suitcase. So certainly the police very quickly managed to get to this apartment right here, most probably because of that tip-off from the taxi driver who said took the three men to that airport. Anderson.
Fred, if you could have your camera person just push back into that apartment where, as you say, the forensic work is still ongoing. And while you do that, do you know whose apartment that is, and how was it the police ended up at that apartment so quickly?
Very, very good question. We're going to pan up to that apartment again, and then you can see that the forensic work's still going on there. We actually saw them, the flashes of what appear to be photo cameras going off there just a couple of seconds ago. Apparently the reason why they found it so quickly is that the taxi driver who picked up the three men to take them to the airport, the three men that apparently are in that shot that we're seeing from that CCTV camera, he then said, listen, I identified these people. He called the authorities and he told them that this is exactly the place where he picked them up. And also that they apparently, when he got to the airport, they apparently told him that they did not want him to touch their luggage, and also that apparently they didn't get all the stuff that they wanted to get into the car actually in there. Now, you talk about this building, we've actually been speaking to some residents here around the area just now, and they're telling us that they believe that this building seemed kind of fishy in the past. However, they also said that there recently apparently had been renovation work going on at this building as well, and so therefore they weren't sure whether or not there was something bad going on, but they certainly had a bad vibe about that building even in the weeks running up to what happened tonight. Whether or not anybody knew what was going on is anybody's guess, but they certainly said that they did have a bad feeling about this building. And if I look at it right now, it does appear as though most parts of that building are actually vacant, and it's only that top floor where there's any sort of light on or even any sort of sign that anybody might be inhabiting that building, Anderson.
Fred, how far away is the neighborhood you're in right now from the Molenbeek area, which is where Salah Abdeslam was from, as well as some of the other Paris attackers, and where Abdeslam was ultimately apprehended just a few days ago?
Yeah, it's not very far, but Brussels is not a very big city. I would say that it's maybe 5 miles away from where we are right now. We're in the northeast of Brussels. Molenbeek is sort of more towards the west, but it isn't very far. One of the other things that we also have to keep in mind about this particular neighborhood right here is that after the Paris attacks in November, it was found that one of the labs that apparently was used to make the explosives that were used in the Paris attacks was also in this district right here. Not exactly sure where in this district, but it was in the same district, in the district of Schaerbeek. So it's not very far away from Molenbeek. It's one that has seen raids after the Paris attacks, and of course into the run-up, what we've seen today, and into the run-up of Saleh Abdeslam being captured as well. So certainly this is an area where the police has been operating in the past couple of months when they conducted over 100 raids to try and apprehend Saleh Abdeslam and those who were connected with him. And the police also saying that they did find a considerable amount of weapons, ammunition, and explosives in those many raids that they carried out since the Paris attacks, some of them right here in this district, Anderson.
The question, of course, that law enforcement is no doubt investigating very vigorously right now is it the same explosives used in the Paris attacks that were used in the attacks today in Brussels? And Fred, correct me if I'm wrong, but memory serves, I believe I remember that they still have not been able to identify who the bomb maker was from the Paris attacks or where his present location is. Is that correct?
No, you're absolutely right. They don't know whether or not they may have killed the actual bomb maker in one of the many raids. Because keep in mind, in the run-up to Saleh Abdeslam getting captured, there was a raid that took place the Tuesday before that, where apparently a senior member of the cell that at least supported those who were conducting the Paris attacks were killed. So it's not clear whether or not that bomb maker was apprehended. It's not clear where that bomb maker is. You're absolutely right. What they're going to try and do right now is the nail bomb that they found here, they're going to try and see whether the explosives that were used in that in any way, shape, or form match those that were used in the Paris attacks, and whether or not perhaps it could be part of the same cell, or at least one that might be working together with the same ones who conducted the Paris attacks, Anderson.
Right. Fred, thanks very much. 2 people got away from that raid the other day. One of them, Salah Abdeslam, and then he was later apprehended. The identity of the other person got away, not currently known. So it's very likely authorities are looking for more than one person right now, any kind of support network for this current cell, and of course waiting to see if there's any connection to the Paris attacks. We mentioned the airport killer struck a soft target where passengers have yet to go through security and where they gather in large numbers, obviously. The departure area. CNN's Atika Schubert is there, joins us now with the latest. So if you can't just walk us through what happened this